Cybersecurity seems to be in the news every single week. In my experience, bad things never happen at convenient times. Here's how it might happen. It'll be the day after a bank holiday. Everyone will be in a good mood after having a break. You'll be sat in a meeting room with your largest client. They represent probably 20% of your business. You'll be talking to them about how well things have been going in your business. Then your phone will buzz silently in your pocket. You'll ignore it. Then it'll buzz again. After about the 5th consecutive ring, you'll know something's up. And then the MD of the client now gets a text message. The mood changes, and you're about to have a really bad day. The thing is, we live in an era where technology underpins business, and it even transforms every industry. But for a busy, growing business, security's almost never a priority. Sometimes I wonder how on earth we got into this mess. And if you look back in history, things have significantly changed. Back in the 1960s, there weren't that many organisations with computers. Things were quite new, and really it was something that perhaps governments needed to worry about. But as time went on in the 60s and 70s, things developed, and in the media it was even portrayed as something that was for kids to just mess about with. And it wasn't necessarily causing that much damage to business. But then, perhaps in the 90s, it became really something that was a concern, and big banks and larger organisations really took it seriously. And then, as the internet became more widespread in the 2000s, it really suddenly became something that every business had to worry about. And through the 2010s and 2020s, it's become something that's just accepted as part of normal business life. In fact, it's so much so now that even the then head of the FBI, Robert Mueller, moved from saying that there were two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that will be, to this one converged group of the fact that companies have been hacked and they will be again. The stats reinforce the point, with almost 40% of companies having a reported incident in 2022, and the value of those losses has been estimated at over £5 billion. And in fact, even so far in 2023, a staggering 72% of large companies have already reported an incident. And yes, it's still only just about the end of February. So these are really serious issues. The worst, I think, is the fact that sometimes it takes a long time for companies to realise they've even been compromised. The average in the UK is over 180 days before you've even noticed that there has been a problem, giving the hackers plenty of time to get up to all sorts of tricks. The fundamental reason this keeps happening is because of two things. One, cybercriminals are not restricted by the laws and regulations or data protection that we all are. And the second is that cybercrime is actually very profitable and has extremely low risk and relatively low cost to implement. And until those two things change, cybercrime will continue. Unfortunately, there are many ways that criminals can make money from this. They can use extortion by installing ransomware on your machine that encrypts all the data and then charge you to get access to that again. They can steal data, particularly personal details and personal information, and just sell it. They can also cause direct financial loss. We've seen invoices being completely faked and then sent to a client, and clients unwittingly pay money into a bank account that nobody's ever actually heard of. And by the time you go looking, the money's gone. They can also pretend to be your e-commerce website, redirecting traffic there. They then take payments from your customers, and to them it looks like they're transacting on your site. But actually you never get the money and they never get the goods. If you work in a particularly sensitive industry such as government or military applications, you may find that stealing your intellectual property could itself be very lucrative. And then finally, we've seen some people log onto machines and literally steal computer power, effectively stealing your electricity. And they do this so that they can mine cryptocurrencies and essentially just make money. So what is the cost of losing a day to a cybersecurity incident? Now, the numbers can vary quite a lot, but if you take a typical, say, 5 million turnover business, then we've seen costs very likely be in the region of £50 to £150,000 just to deal with that incident and the ongoing impacts of perhaps losing clients and maybe even some legal action. And with some companies, the cost can be way higher. The average cost of an incident in the UK is actually in the millions. Of course, that's skewed by some large companies, but you'd be surprised at the cost of dealing with an incident, even for a very small company. And the reputational damage alone for most businesses is massive. Here are some of the most common ways that security is breached on systems. Phishing attacks are perhaps the most common. Either through email or text message or even social media accounts can take you to a really nefarious website. Social engineering attacks are also used to unwittingly have your employees do something that perhaps they shouldn't be doing. Then you may be putting your entire business at risk when you travel and connecting to an unsecure Wi-Fi network without realizing it, giving access to your system. Then software itself is vulnerable and it can be attacked if it's not kept fully up to date, where the security is not patched properly. Also, passwords are tricky because sometimes people reuse them. Even when they're complex passwords, a reused password can perhaps give access to another system. And then finally, there is all sorts of software that you can be tricked into installing on your machine that actually does other stuff as well as perhaps what it was supposed to be there for. So how on earth are we going to protect ourselves against all this risk from cyber attack? Well, the good news is that there are a few things that you can do that will genuinely make a difference. The first is just create a risk register. Your business may be doing this anyway, so your board may hold a risk register, and cyber and IT should be part of that. Look for the things that are the highest impact and likelihood and mitigate those first. Then create some good policies around all sorts of things in your business, what people should be allowed to do or not do. There are also many tools that are available to protect your systems, from anti-malware software to things that protect your network, even honey trap software that will inform you when something bad is actually happening on your network. Then have some actual processes, for example, for starters, or more importantly, perhaps for leavers, to make sure that things get tidied up when somebody leaves and you don't just leave old accounts lying around. Then my feeling is that perhaps the most important thing is to train your people. Of all the things that, or the different ways that people get into your systems, people are perhaps the most crucial factor. So make sure they're well trained and well informed and know what to look out for. And finally, if you want to test yourself, or indeed if your clients require it, then accreditation is a great way to make sure you are keeping yourself secure. A question we get asked a lot is, what about cyber insurance? Should I take it out? Is it worth it? And the simple answer is probably, yeah, on the whole, it probably is. Sometimes it may look expensive and certainly sometimes time consuming to fill out the forms, but you can always get somebody to help you with that. And the benefits can be quite good. It'll certainly reduce the incident cost if something does happen. And in fact, often they'll give you access to expert help to help you through an incident, which is really useful. And of course, you may also have pressures from your clients and other people to force you to have insurance to make sure that they're covered too. Now, it won't stop you getting hacked, and it won't necessarily stop all the disruption, but probably it will help. So where do you go from here? You want to do something about it, but what's the next step? The most important thing is really to find somebody to own security in your business. Like any good business initiative, if there's no owner, chances are things won't move forwards. So find somebody with the right skill set, with the business acumen, perhaps some of the technical ability to understand how these things work, and really spearhead that initiative in your business. And in terms of where things should start in your business, perhaps start with making sure that the board or the senior leadership team are bought into this and understand the impact and the benefits of having decent security in your business. Agree and assign that owner that we talked about, and then make it a business initiative, not just an IT project. Remember, this is about protecting your business, your revenue, your income, and your clients. And then gather the requirements, find the right people, and put together a decent plan. And if you need help from outside, get it in. It'll be well worth it. If you'd like to find out more about cybersecurity, pause the video and scan the QR code on the screen. Or visit our website and get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.